Kelly Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, was just asked why there were no pictures of her when she was pregnant, and people asked if it was because she had a surrogate carry her child. And she's denying that. I don't know whether she did or not, but she's denying that she had a surrogate. She's saying, no, I hid. You won't find any pictures of me at all during pregnancy. I hid all 9 months of pregnancy to avoid being fat shamed. Because I've been a public figure all my life, and I just didn't want to be on camera fat. I don't know whether that explanation is true or not. It at least rings true. It at least rings plausible. Lindsay Lohan just came out. She said, being pregnant is the greatest joy of my life. Lindsay Lohan's had a pretty fun, wild life. She says, being pregnant, being a mother, it's the greatest joy of my entire life. Khloe Kardashian, do you remember that clip of Khloe Kardashian? Just coming out saying, man, surrogacy was a horrible idea. Wish I carried my child.
The surrogate process, Kim knows it's really hard for me.
Well, what does that mean?
She had a really hard time accepting the whole process.
Got it.
It's a mind. It's really the weirdest thing.
I do think that there is a difference. When the baby is in your belly, the baby actually feels your real heart. Think about it.
Right.
It like touches your organ. Like there's no one else on this planet that will feel you from the inside like that, like your heart, you know?
I felt really guilty that like this woman just had my baby and I take the baby and then I go to another room and you're sort of separated. Like I felt it's such a transactional experience because it's not about him.
So true, you get the point.
I wish someone was honest about surrogacy.
I wish
and
someone
the difference of it, but
was
it doesn't mean
honest
it's
about surrogacy.
Bad or good. It's still great. It's just very different.
I wish someone was honest about surrogacy. That's a great line. She says, there's this woman bleeding in the other room, and then I'm there, and it's not about the baby at all. It's just a transaction. It's an economic transaction. We've reduced the relation between men and women, one of the great joys of life, into an interchangeable commercial enterprise. Even the language we use, we talk about our partner now. We don't say my wife, my husband, my boyfriend, we say my partner, like it's an accounting firm. And it's not just the men who are waking up to this, it's the women. The women who are saying, I don't want to be treated like a commodity, to be used up and thrown out when I'm no longer valuable to people. I don't want to buy my child. I don't want to be a nondescript, birthing parent. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. Hear me roar. This is why women are becoming more trad. There's this trend. I was a little early to the trend. We were doing this before it was cool, of trad wives and people looking at a more traditional kind of culture. You're seeing this among former liberals who recognize that liberalism's crazy. They're shifting to the right. And you're seeing this among people who would have called themselves libertarian, who are becoming actual conservatives now. Huge numbers of them, including prominent ones. And large numbers of non-prominent ones who usually have better intuition than the prominent ones. It's a recognition that it's a little weird in our culture that pregnancy is shamed, that being a woman, being a real woman, not just a pretend man, is shamed, that being normal is shamed. There's a recognition that at the very least, we're not saying anything about the wonderful achievements of progress, but we're just saying it's a little bit weird what's going on in this country. It's a little strange. It's a little strange that the First Lady's posing for photos with a bunch of It's a little odd, isn't it? And maybe we need to pull at that thread a little, figure out how did we get here? And as people are doing it, it's not just far-right conservatives, it's ordinary people, and it's a lot of ordinary women start pulling at that thread. They realize that we have to undo decades of error. C.S. Lewis made this point. He said, when you're walking down the road, the true progressive, because everyone wants to be a progressive now, the true progressive is the person who realizes when you're walking down the wrong road, you turn around first and you start going back the way you came. That's the true progressive, rather than keep going all the way to oblivion. Right now, go to GoodRanchers.com, use promo code Knowles. I adore Good Ranchers. I absolutely love it. Their food is absolutely fabulous. I eat it multiple times a week very often. The steaks are excellent. They've turned me into a ribeye guy. Their burgers are the absolute best burgers I've ever had in my life. They now have a pork box. That was my one complaint. I said I want some nice juicy brats or something, and then they did it. They did that right now. Good Ranchers is the only meat company locking in your price right now. They've got their industry first price lock guarantee. Since 2021, they've been helping people combat the inflation of the meat aisle as well as the mystery of it too. Turns out over 85% of grass-fed beef is imported from overseas. So not only is store-bought meat expensive, it's of often low foreign quality also. Subscribe to Good Ranchers right now. Get that price lock guarantee. I don't know how they're doing it, especially with inflation, but it's just terrific. GoodRanchers.com. Use code Knowles for $30 off any box. Promo code Knowles, KNWLES at GoodRanchers.com. GoodRanchers.com. American meat delivered. Right now, go to puretalk.com/Knowles. You know a company is looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and don't charge you for it. This is great news for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every plan and includes a mobile hotspot with no price increase whatsoever. If you've considered Pure Talk before but have not made the switch, take a look again. For just $20 a month, you will get unlimited talk, text, and now 50% more 5G data, plus their new mobile hotspot. This is one of the many reasons I love Pure Talk. It's veteran-owned. They only hire the best customer service team located right here in the US of A. That alone is worth the switch. Most families are saving almost $1,000 a year while enjoying the most dependable 5G network in America. Remember, you vote with how you spend your money, so stop supporting woke wireless companies that don't support you. When you go to puretalk.com/Knowles, you will save an additional 50% off your first month because they value you. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. Pure Talk Wireless for Americans by Americans. There is some really good news coming out of Arkansas. Arkansas right now has passed a law saying that if you want to peddle smut and pornography in the state, you got to make sure that you're not peddling it directly to children. Seems reasonable enough. I think probably you could have gotten to that end by just enforcing obscenity laws that are already on the books, but because we've got squishy liberal judges in recent decades, Arkansas says, okay, we want to be very clear, especially with the technological change of the internet, we're going to be very clear, you can't target smut directly to children. There's got to be about one step in between the kids and the porn. And Pornhub said, okay, we're not doing business in Arkansas anymore. Pornhub said that in Arkansas. It said that in multiple other states now, as other states have pushed for even the most basic regulations of pornography. The kind of regulation that used to exist at newsstands. If someone went in and wanted to buy a Playboy, the Playboy would be covered in a special material so that you couldn't just see all the stuff on the cover right away, and you'd have to ask. It was behind the counter. You'd have to be kind of embarrassed and ask. Basic stuff so that kids couldn't get at it. At a Playboy. What's on the internet is a lot worse than what was in Playboy and Penthouse decades ago. Pornhub says, no thanks. If I can't peddle this directly to children, I'm just going to stop doing business in the whole state. That tells you everything that you need to know about the pornography industry. The whole pornography industry is about children. It's not just a little bit of it, it's the whole thing. We focus on these particularly sensationalist and hideous examples, the sort of thing that Sound of Freedom is based on, child exploitation, child pornography. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. The whole industry is based on kids because the whole industry is based on hooking kids when they're very young. The median age of exposure to porn is something like 11 years old now, might even be younger at this point. That might be an outdated statistic. So you hook them when they're very young, and then you melt their brains, and you get these kids whose brains are very spongy. You get them addicted to pornography, and then they can never break it. That's why Pornhub won't risk this. The reason that Pornhub is giving as to why they won't risk this is they're saying, well, our users value privacy, so they're not going to want to submit a photo of an ID to prove that they are over 18, because then we're going to know who they are and what they're looking at. I don't think that's the slam dunk argument that Pornhub thinks it is. Why are people reticent to reveal their identities when they're looking at pornography? Because it's filthy and shameful and degrading and makes people look like perverts. And so they don't want to admit when they can look at it in anonymity, or supposed anonymity. Someone's always watching, buddy. But when they can at least fool themselves into thinking that they're anonymous and nobody's watching, then they'll watch it. But the moment that they have to acknowledge it, they're going to stop it. So there's those two reasons. But don't downplay the targeting of kids. If you ever complained about tobacco companies, cigarette companies targeting kids with advertising in the 90s, which every liberal did, then I'd sure like to hear you speak up about pornography, because big porn makes the big tobacco companies look like child's play, look like the amateur league in the way that they target children with their smut. So what are we going to do about it? What would I do if I were king of Arkansas? I don't know, Arkansas is doing a great job. You know, Sarah Sanders, I love her. But what would I do if I were the governor of a state right now? How would you enforce? Well, I would pass this kind of a law. And how would I then try to enforce it or put it into practice? I guess I would just enforce obscenity laws. I wouldn't even necessarily need to pass new laws. I would just enforce the obscenity laws already on the books, and I'd go after these guys. They provide absolutely no benefit to society. They provide a lot of harms to society. They screw up a lot of people's lives. And so I'd ban it all, or I'd enforce the pre-existing bans, and if they continued to violate it, I would arrest the distributors. And I wouldn't just go after low-level guys. This is where I think people are being a little unfair to Andrew Tate. This is where I'm going to come in. I'm not exactly defending Andrew Tate here, but I'm pointing out it's fine to have righteous indignation about Andrew Tate doing all sorts of nasty, pimpy things and seducing women and putting them on webcam. It's awful. Small potatoes, guys, if you're against that, if you're for imprisoning Andrew Tate, then you should be 100 times, 1,000 times more in favor of imprisoning the head of MindGeek, which is the parent company of Pornhub. You should be 1,000 times in favor of imprisoning the owners of OnlyFans and all of the other porn sites. Okay, if you're going to go after the small potatoes because Andrew Tate is particularly obnoxious on video or something, he makes a good cartoon character villain, okay, fine. But go after the big guys. Don't just focus on little Andrew Tate. Go after the big guys. Otherwise, it seems that one is disingenuous or incoherent in one's view of this. So glad you liked that clip. Wasn't it? It was good, wasn't it? Make sure that you subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. Ring that bell. We'll see you next time.